Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It's Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Thursday, June 1st, 2023. Welcome to June. Welcome to starting a live stream with audio on today. This is Markets in the Morning. If you missed it yesterday, I did not have my audio on when I started. But this is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, the stock market, gold, metals, yields, all that great stuff, and see what's going on with the news as we get ready for the United States stock market to open up in the next 7 minutes. So welcome. Let's go ahead and dive right on in. Somebody says bonus audio today, Mr. Nobody. Yeah, we had no audio when we started yesterday. That is part of doing it live. So, all right, guys, let's dive right on in. Bitcoin sitting at 26,926. So this is interesting. We were talking about yesterday saying, hey, I think it's within 48 hours we get a dip. Question is that the low? So I'm going to talk more about that today and why. Today, I've decided I'm gonna start nibbling at the market. So I'm gonna start adding some stuff that I've been eyeing to my bags today. I made a very, very, very small ad this morning, but this afternoon I'm gonna spend some more time going through it and start buying. Not going all in, and not fully confident we have seen the bottom of this move just yet. But we'll talk about it here in just a minute based on the things we have been talking about, how we're just kind of there. And there could be this little plunge that happens coming up here pretty soon. I'm just gonna use the DCA strategy in here to add. So my bias is that Bitcoin will shift up higher. My bias is that this is not the peak of it. So hopefully it's not. So for me, it's just about grabbing this area, this zone, whatever gets offered in here, and really targeting higher areas up in here, and not being so concerned that I have to go all in on the day that I think the low is in. I've been here long enough. I've done this game long enough. That's a difficult strategy. Either you're going to not buy the bottom and keep going lower, or you're going to get completely left behind. So for me, it's going to be a DCA strategy in here. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Yesterday, I did post a new newsletter there. I do 2 of these every month over here on Substack. Money Printer Go Burr, the debt ceiling event, a 2-year hiatus, deflationary versus inflationary. Talking it really about the Money Printer Go Burr and the bullishness of the retail investor community in regards to the debt ceiling being lifted. So this has a 17-minute audio voiceover. It's I record that. So what I do is I go through and I read it and I narrate it and I record that so you can listen to it if you'd prefer that method. But yesterday, we had the House voting on this, on the, what was it called? What's the name of it? HR 3746, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which lifts the debt ceiling. So I don't even think it sets any limit. It just lifts it for 2 years. There is no limit for a couple of years. So fiscal responsibility, the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And of course, the immediate response by retail investors is, this is super bullish, money printer go burr. But if is there an actual misconception of what the money printer go burr is, and what happens when a debt ceiling gets lifted, and what does the process mean for the debt ceiling to get lifted, and how does the Treasury take on more debt? And the Treasury takes on more debt by issuing more Treasury notes, Treasury bills, Treasury bonds, and there has to be a buyer on the other side. Somebody has to be the one to loan them the money. And so, of course, everybody says, money printer go burr, inflation is going to happen because we're just printing more money, we're taking on more debt. But the question is, where will the money come from? Because the money printer go burr is actually Jerome Powell. It's the Fed, right? It's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Are they going to be the ones buying the debt? And if not, who is going to be? Is it coming from our markets? Is it coming from the stock market? Is the money going to come from here? Is it going to be people like you and me, retail investors, buying it? Is it going to be banks? If it's going to be banks, are they not going to be loaning money out to stimulate the economy? Or there may be a couple of other places for it to be able to come from. And so that's what I talk about in here, 17 minutes. It's a doozy, man. If you can handle the words of, treasury bills, treasury notes, reverse repo facilities, Federal Reserve, Congress, all, it's a doozy in there. But the point of it all is to be that, the meme culture right now is money printer go burr because the debt ceiling is getting lifted. But the thing that the meme culture of money printer go burr refers to is when the Federal Reserve is doing quantitative easing and they're buying up all of the treasuries. And if they're not buying up all the treasuries, who is? And what does that mean for the market? So that's what I write about in there. It's a doozy, but I spent quite a bit of time on that. So that is available over there. There's a link in the description of this live stream to that Substack newsletter that I wrote, premium newsletter. All right, guys. So Bitcoin's sitting at 26,923. We'll dive into this stuff here again in just a minute. XRP still, as from a time duration of how long we accumulated last time and how long this thing went, there's only like 23 more days to be an equivalent amount. Doesn't mean we're going to go the exact amount of time, anything like that, but just to give you kind of a ballpark idea, XRP is still sitting at this retracement level, kind of pulled back here for the last 2 days. Let me put on daily candles so we can get better looks. There you go. There's our 2 days of pulling back yesterday. 2 days ago, the exciting day. Yesterday, pull back. Today, continued pull back in here. And we're still just kind of waddling in here underneath that retracement level. Again, this is the worry zone. It's always the worry zone for something. Either this is where excitement can happen or this is where pain and destruction can happen from. And so we sit there right now waiting. This is usually the line in the sand area for me to be like, oh my gosh, here we go. Big green fat arrows. Sometimes I'll put the little green arrow on the thumbnail, but when that arrow gets big and green, that's when we're YOLO FOMO. And this is usually my line in the sand area to start being like that. So we're at it. It's the scary part, just like in the intro, just like NFTs, just like everything we ever talk about. That's the retracement level, the worry zone right in here. As for the stock market, it just opened right now, right? Have we opened yet? Maybe not. Yeah, we opened. We're down 80 points for the Dow Jones. We are up 12 points, 14, 15 for the NASDAQ, and up 3 points for the S&P. So if, the debt ceiling getting past the Fiscal Responsibility Act of raising the debt ceiling yesterday passed in the House, so it'll be going to the Senate today. So you had a pretty unanimous vote of yes yesterday in the House. A lot of Republicans, a lot of Democrats, the vast majority of it. So it wasn't really even that close. It was like pretty full agreement. We're going forward with this thing. It'll go to the Senate today. The Senate is Democratic controlled. So the big thing was the president said he would sign off on this. The president is a Democrat. The next goal was to get it through the House, and the House is Republican owned. And so now that it's made it through the Republicans, now it goes back to the Democrats. The majority of Democrats in the House approved this. It's expected to get through the Senate with just no issues whatsoever. But even in that circumstance, if it was super mega bullish, awesome rock and roll money printer go burr, you'd think we'd see that reflected in the stock market, right? So there is a mixed thought on this could be a temporary deflationary event happening here with the debt ceiling and the Treasury issuing a bunch of Treasury bills. Of course, long-term anticipation of it being an inflationary event, but everybody does say, hey, it's bullish immediately. There's a possibility it's not. And so we're seeing here in the stock market not the wildest excitement of the fact that the House did pass this. You can see the Dow is down 152 points now at opening. So let's see how this thing is like. There we go. There's the 4 minutes of opening the market, just straight line down. S&P about even, down 1 point. NASDAQ up 3 points. Kind of all over the place here for the S&P. Dow down 177, down 0.55%. So who's the bigger loser up in here? No one huge. There's no huge losers up in this list, at least. But you could see the market is down 180 on the passing. The opposite of what retail would have thought, right? The retail thought money printer go burr. All right. Looking at the NASDAQ, of course, the concern here with NASDAQ back at retracement levels. With all this, I think the thing that's going to matter, right? I've had conversations with people. Of course, you guys know I'm friendly with TXMC. Sometimes we'll talk to each other and have phone calls. In that it's not so black and white on being like, hey, the debt ceiling's lifted, so money printer go burr. There is serious question of where does the money come from, and whether or not money is going to get parked in different places, or if they're willing to park it over there at the Treasury, or is it going to be scared retail investors, considering that so many people are searching for recession right now, so many people are worried about recession right now. Would they rather go buy Treasury yields yielding 5%? I mean, think about that. When is the last time in your savings account you could just go get 5% risk-free, right? It's been a long time. It's been a really long time. I mean, you can look back here at the one-year yield. The one-year yield sitting up here at 5%. That hasn't happened since 2006. We're talking 17 years since you've been able to get this type of yield by just parking your money. So there's an allurement to do that. And so the question will it be market participants rather than sloshing their money around in the stocks? Are they going to go after those yields? Anyway, the point is that on June 14th is when we're supposed to have the next Fed meeting, and they're going to dictate whether or not there will be another rate hike or if we're going to pause. Current expectation, 70% chance that the Fed will pause. If they pause, first of all, for me, it's all about, well, is this going to be deflationary or is this going to be inflationary? Retail totally thinks this is the most bullish thing in the world, that the debt ceiling has been lifted. But I say to myself, okay, well, that's what retail does. And retail is usually always wrong, especially back at retracement levels. They all think that things are super bullish and it's time to absolutely buy the market. They're always like, don't fight the Fed, don't fight the Fed. And then they're like, okay, let's all buy the retraces together because everything is money printer go burr. That I have to sit here and say, the charts tell me I should be worried. The charts tell me I should be worried, but retail is screaming money printer go burr, excitement, YOLO, FOMO. I think for me to get on that narrative of excitement, YOLO, FOMO, for the stock market is just wanting to know where all that money is going for the debt is actually going to come from. Like the immediate response, everybody is going to say, it's going to come from the Fed, duh. Well, they're going to start issuing these treasuries in a couple of weeks. The Fed has not started QE. They're still doing QT. So where will the money come from? And will it come from the stock market is the big question. So keep an eye on that, where this money is going to come from. I think in order to prevent it from coming from the stock market, you actually do have to have the pause. You actually do have to have this because right now the Federal Reverse Repo Facility rate is 5.05%. So people can banks can park their money at the Fed for 5.05%. But they can also buy a treasury, a 3-month treasury for 5.23%. It's not very much more. So there's got to be this carry-away effect that happens with these treasuries to make them more expensive, to pull money out of that, I don't know. We're going to get too complicated. I don't believe that the debt ceiling being lifted is actually as bullish as most people think in the short run. I think everybody thinks it's a short-term bullish event. I don't think it is. Like, sure, long term, it's going to lead to problems, which will eventually lead to more money printing. But in the short term, I don't think it is. So, all right, we're going to move on from this stupid debt ceiling. CNBC's got to tell me, though, it's the S&P futures are little change to start June trading after debt bill passes. I took a screenshot of it earlier today. It said Dow futures inch lower after House passes debt ceiling bill. So they just don't know what to say. If you want, here we go. As S&P 500 opens flat to start June trading after the debt bill passes. Remember, we were just kind of fed this the whole time leading up to this event as if it was going to be impactful. Traders, market is down as traders are worried about the debt ceiling, right? Market is up as traders are optimistic about debt ceiling. Then it passes, market down after passing. It's like the narrative is so silly. Debt ceiling bill passes in the House, advances to the Senate days ahead of default deadline. So that'll be at the Senate today. How inflation and higher interest rates have reshaped car buying. Okay, that sounds like an ad. Private payrolls rose by 278,000 in May, well ahead of expectations. Yeah, unemployment is still continuing to inch lower. So no worries there on unemployment. Market seems okay. Debt limit deal passes the House, easing U.S. default concerns. If those concerns were so important, you would think the market would be doing okay. I think the market is actually just worried about where the money is going to come from. That's the reality, what everybody should think. If your immediate thought process is the money is coming from the Fed, I hope you have justification to know why that is. So that's probably the worry of the market. Where is the money going to come from for all of it? And will it come from our stock market? That's probably the biggest concern there is out there. All right, so we're good. That means we're not going to default. The sky is not going to fall. We see that we still have 70% chance at this time right now that on June 14th, which is a little under 2 weeks from today, to see that Fed pause happen. As for crypto news, I didn't see anything really worth going in too much detail on here. Yeah, it's just the same old junk. So, all right. So Bitcoin. So let's talk about the price action of Bitcoin. We've been following this for months. If you're a normal watcher of the channel, or if you've watched even one video of the channel, likely over the course of the last 2 months, you've seen us discussing this. So we've gotten through the capitulation phase in here. We've now gotten to really what it looks like when we start finding our initial bottom happening in here. In each example of how this has happened, this is really what our bottoms did look like in here. There was a variance between the two on whether or not a slight new low got hit or if it just stalled out in here, right? So a breakout, then a pullback, or a breakout, then a pullback. I would not be surprised if we finally go dip down there and we actually do just clip the box that we've been talking about for 2 months. But for me personally, I have to say to myself, what am I going to, I have to take the gamble, right? I have to take the gamble on which one is going to happen. And of course, these are my hypotheses of what will happen, right? What if price fires up? What if we have a C19 style crash come up next? Of course, those are just other variables that are out there. I have to make, but I have to make my best educated guess on the hypotheses and theses that I have. And that these are the two theses I have of the market currently right now. And then I have to kind of guess in either one, which one do I think is coming next? So due to spending 2 months looking for this to be our price action, I'm going to be dipping my toes in the sand today because I do believe our capitulation phase has been completed, and I do believe we're just working on a bottom. The question is, will there be this flush that happens right in here, here within the next day or two? That gives us just kind of that one more smack that happens in the market, or do we kind of hold in here? I don't know the answer, and for that, and I don't have a bias on it either. So for that, I'm going to start nibbling today, but very cautiously, anticipating that we could see something like that. It would be kind of a capitulative move. You could probably see prices drop 20% in a lot of stuff if we had a move that happened like that, where you see Bitcoin just kind of flash down 6 or 7%. You can see 20% in a lot of those altcoins. So I am going to keep some dry powder on the side over here to be able to grab that in the case that it does. But at this point, it's time for me to start nibbling at the market. So for that, I will be. As for XRP, that's the primary one I would like to accumulate, but unfortunately, I can't accumulate at this price. It's too carried away for me. I've been accumulating for the last 5 years. I'm not in a position where if it takes off, I will be FOMOing and crying to myself how I got left behind. I've had 5 years to take action in DCA in it, and I have. But if I am going to be grabbing XRP in particular, that's where a lot of my dry powder is waiting for. If I'm going to be able to get that or not, it will be down here near the 44 to 46 cent price level if it gets offered. I'd much more rather just take the breakout and stop worrying about XRP and just take off and go. But if I'm adding any more to my bags, it's going to be down in here because that's just the area I want to do it at. I'm not going to give... I've been doing this game long enough that if I say the assets I'm going to be buying, what happens is I could name off 6 assets. 3 of them could go to the moon, and all I will get are questions about the other 3 for the next 2 years. I don't have the expectation that I'm going to be able to be the perfect picker of which ones are going to moon. But hopefully that I'm making the decision correct on a couple of them. But if I share, here's the ones I'm buying, guys. I've had the pleasure of the last 2 years of never getting asked about the ones that went to the moon and only the questions about the ones that have not. And that's were the ones that the trolls love to point out for forever. So we can kind of go through these and look at some of them that are like at interesting price levels, but it doesn't mean I'm buying them. But like I mentioned yesterday, here, let's do this. There are specific coins that there's specific ones I'm eyeing, and it doesn't mean I'm buying all of these. It doesn't. But the ones that are on my radar to accumulate are XRP, Hedera, Cosmos, Cardano, the Graph, Ethereum, Bitcoin, SUI network, SUI, and Optimism. And the reason for those in particular is because they're still seeing developer growth and community growth and activity growth. I can promise I won't buy all of them, but those are the ones that are on my watch list to look at, which is Optimism, SUI, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the Graph, Cardano, Cosmos, Hedera, and XRP. I believe that's it. Let me see if there's any others. Potentially the Hex Pulse Chain Network. I haven't even looked at that chart in a couple of weeks, so I will go take a look at that and see how that's doing and see if I want to DCA a little bit of that. The Arbitrum is another layer 2 solution for Ethereum. I'll be eyeing that as well. And then one that I've been eyeing that I have not pulled the trigger on, and I'm not even interested in pulling the trigger on it at these current prices, is Pepe. I did play SHIB in 2021, and I played it for the second ride. But the way I did that was I did it from Wyckoff accumulation when SHIB sat at the lows for a very long time. And right now, Pepe is not in an interesting price level for me to even consider touching it. If there becomes some big drop, I do see the potential that there's some kind of Pepe wildness that happens again later. But there's probably going to be a couple months of consolidation happening for Pepe before something like that could occur. Again, that wouldn't be like a utility-driven thing. It would just be a FOMO-driven thing, short-lived, in and out. But at these prices right now, I'm not even considering it on Pepe at all. Things that are of interesting price levels to me currently right now are Optimism, Hedera, Filecoin, if anybody's willing to take the gamble on that mooning quickly due to the inflationary problems that it has. That SUI coin, so you might have heard me mention SUI, SUI, which has been having extreme developer growth. And I believe just like right out the gates, they've already got 700,000 followers on Twitter. It's a new layer 1, right? Of course, here we go, another new layer 1. But we kind of see what happens with these new layer 1s when they come out. There's all this hype. There's all this building on it to see if it can be something. So it is kind of more of a gambler play. due to it not really having much price history. This coin was released May 3rd, I believe. So you have just like a couple of days of price action on the chart. Let's see if we can look at it. Where was it originally released on? One of the earliest places. Probably here. That's your price history. That's all you've got here for this coin. New layer 1. Recently listed on Coinbase. Pretty much listed on every exchange. Listed on Uphold, Kraken, KuCoin, Binance, everywhere. To immediately get listed within the first month. So this is interesting. The Masari report, Eric Martinson, thank you for sharing that with me. Sent me the Masari report right up on it as well. We'll see about that. This one's on my radar. But I'd say like my primary ones I'm attacking would be XRP. If it gets offered, that's where the bulk of my accumulation funds will go. And then Hedera. I like the current location of Hedera's price. This is a price I'm accumulating at. And trying to see any other ones that like I'm like really foaming at the lips over. It's not a whole lot, right? Not a whole lot that I'm like foaming at the lips of. Like XRP is the biggest community. So that's the thing too. The thing I think about is that XRP is the biggest community. We have a chart that's nuts. You have a chart that's been like this for so long. I was like looking at it, you know, people ask about stellar lumens all the time, and you go check their like their engagement over there on @stellar.org. It's like their best tweet gets 100 likes. But if like Ripple does anything, or Brad Garlinghouse, or just anyone in the XRP community does anything, it like instantly gets 1,000 likes. There's so many people in this community, and it's so active that I don't know. I every time I even think about buying anything else, I feel guilty. I feel like I know better. I know what's supposed to be going. I know what's supposed to be going in here. Of course, I'm just so heavily weighted in this already. But still, this is where the bulk of my funds will go if I get offered lower prices. Don't know if I will. We're at the retracement levels. If it gets a breakthrough, good night, out of here, and thank God. Amber, I don't know what SMMD cap is. So anyway, yeah, those are the things that I'm looking at, and I'm eyeing them very closely, and today starting accumulating. So that's the big news over there over on Bitcoin. So currently right now, working out these areas in here, right? Whether or not this is going to have a final flush coming in here, or if it's going to pause out here and we're going to be done. So I'm going to start. And I did a tiny amount this morning, but I will start throughout the day and in the coming days, anticipating either we're going to be working our way upward from here, or our final flush is coming in here, and I'm going to be accumulating this flush that happens. So let's get it. All right. Trying to think if there's anything else. Dow Jones, how are we doing now? Down 175 after the opening. You've got the S&P and the NASDAQ that have flipped red, but we have a mix over here in the market. Mostly tech that is up. NVIDIA, Meta, Google, Netflix. Then you have GE, Roblox, and Caterpillar. Losers of the day, Coinbase, Tesla, and ARK. Yields, 1 month yields up today. 2 month up, 4 month up, 6 month up. Long durations down. Metals, gold, where are you, gold? Gold up today. Gold bouncing off that 702, right? The resistance near the high, back, and now it's the big thing going on here. As for the news, it's really just about now the Fiscal Responsibility Act of putting no cap on the debt ceiling and lifting it for years. pure fiscal responsibility is moving to the Senate today. So it did pass through the House. We're going to the Senate today. And we'll see what happens after that. Again, I think the market's more worried. Where's the money going to come from to pay for all this? And if your immediate reaction is the Fed, please explain that because I don't see it. I don't see that. But I think there is a solution. So we'll see. All right, guys, let's hop into the chat. That's enough covering all this stuff for today. I think that's just a summary of where we're at. Bitcoin, right? It did the pullback like we were looking for yesterday. Now we're waiting to see if it's going to flush or hold. For that, I'm indecisive on it. I'm going to slowly start chipping away, and I'm just going to treat this as I'm not going to time the bottom. I am going to DCA. So my DCA is going to start now. And if we get a flush, then I get to DCA lower. If we pop out of here, then my DCA range will be a little bit higher. So either this is going to be my DCA range or this is going to be my DCA range. But as of right now, I start. So there we go. And then as for stocks are down today. Like CNBC tells us, little change. They haven't updated that yet. We're down after the debt ceiling bill has passed. So quite the contrary of what most retail would have thought would have happened here today. All right, Paul Santos. Thank you so much, Paul. And of course, I'm a half an hour late, man. First time poster is numbers too shady to take a look at. I've never heard of it, man. So it might be. Uphold has it. Figured it could be decent. In stocks, thoughts on Carvana. I don't follow the Carvana business model personally. For me, I could never buy a car out of a vending machine, but I do know people who have, and they seem to stand by it that it went fine. I don't know what that is. I don't know if num is supposed to be like this. Guys, we're taking a gamble here. I don't know what this is. It's not even on Binance. So if Binance isn't listing it, I don't know, dude. I don't know, bro. That's something I'm going to have to check off stream. Let me check. Let's see what kind of volume it's posting. Weird volume. There's a market maker on it for sure. Nothing appealing about that, and that's always weird. Back there on May 21st, 20th, to see that big of a candle. That looks like the works of a pump and dump group when you have something like that happening. So no, I can't cover it, bro. Not a fan of that. But thank you, man. First time. But yeah, I'm personally not touching that with a 10-foot pole or bringing it up on the stream. Zoltan says, thank you for the mystery person from yesterday for donating me a membership. Have a very nice day, everyone. Yeah, look at that, guys. Eric texted me today and said, hey, can we please turn off the membership button? Everybody we get carried away, and it has been insane. But most people in the chat, your name should be in green because it's been insane in here lately. Thank you guys for all your support. Thank you, Zoltan. Van says, BCB, I just wanted to send you 702. With your help, I'll be able to send you 702 very soon. Like button, click it. No. First of all, thank you for the 702. But no, I don't need you guys. You guys don't need to send me money. I'm not here to be a charity, right? I'll create content. I'll try to create value and content. And if you want to support my content, like a course, or if you want to support me with my newsletter and the additional work that I do, that's great. But I'm not here to be a charity. So thank you for the very kind words. Thank you for the donation. But dear God, no. Thank you, though. Chris DeLeon, BCB, what's up? Thanks for all your knowledge. Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Pat. Wow, Pat. Evening, mate. when you say 23 odd days left following earlier charts, do you expect it to take off to a new all-time high or to the next ranging area? Do you think it's possible to range for a couple of months at a new ranging level before heading up massively? Pat, first of all, thank you for the very generous super chat. Secondly, I will tell you, like, straight up, time is impossible to predict. So if there's a single person who is sitting there thinking blockchain backer predicts in 23 days, I'm telling you right now, I do not at all. I've made very clear what my predictions are for price levels, right? I think we'll get near the $10 price level. Not how many days it's going to take. The reason why, first of all, time, nobody's mastered the art of predicting time. And if you do not get it on why riddlers are so vague and won't be specific and why people are lured into it, is because riddlers are kind of predicting time. It's the question everybody wants to know. It's when moon. It's the only thing anybody cares about is when moon. That's why riddlers get so much attention, because they have the secret to when, but they're not really sharing it with you. They're keeping it super vague. And then something happens, and then you add 4 to 12, and it comes out to 13, which means June 1st or May 7th, bingo. And then it totally meant that they predicted time accurately if you would have read the riddle correctly. The reason they get attention is because they are saying they're predicting time, but they are not. And nobody can accurately predict time movement. And I've always said this for years now at this point. If there was anybody who could accurately predict time consistently, I would go learn their methodologies. I would take a month off from the YouTube channel, and I would just go apprentice for free and wear a robe and live underneath a tree and not shower for a month, if in the end I could figure out how to predict time. That would be the ultimate thing. It would make me the #1 YouTuber in the world, because the only question anybody has is when moon. That's it. That's it, man. If that could be answered, we'd be golden, man. This would be the #1 YouTube channel in the world. But it's just not possible. And so, fortunately, I do get to stay inside air conditioning, and I don't have to wear a robe and live under a tree and not shower for a month. But unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I can take a shot at prices, timing. I'm going to get it wrong, just like all the riddlers do. So, don't know. As for ranging at new levels, you would have to expect ranging at new levels will occur. That's just what typically happens. But dang, and then Pat coming out with 5 gifts, and then another 5 gifts. Jeez, Pat, thank you. Thank you for all of your support, Pat. Grumpy old men. Hey, BCB. Thing that's on my mind is XRP never goes on a run on its own. So if Bitcoin is going to have one more flush down, how is XRP going on a run? Won't it go down and reject it at 702 when Bitcoin has a leg down? You asked this question 20 minutes ago. Maybe I've already answered your question, right? So like my thoughts are, if Bitcoin has a flush down, that's it. That's really all that's got left in it, are my thoughts, right? And if it's not going to flush down, that we could pause in here. And I don't think there's much left in it. And if XRP does have a flush, and if it does happen when Bitcoin flushes down 5% or so, maybe that is how I get to finally get my 44 to 46 cent final grabs from my FOMO irrational grabs added to my bag. And I can tell you this too. If we get offered these prices right here, the original amount that I had planned on putting in here, I only wanted to put it in if I could get extremely good prices. It's the only reason I was willing to put it in the market in the first place. I've been buying the silly, stupid prices for a long time. Like this was like a year and a half of heck. This was insane. I remember I was camping with my wife. This is going to be for the real OGs. When C19 happened, I was camping. And I didn't even have cell phone reception, but I walked to the front of the park and was able to call my wife. And she got onto Coinbase at the time and got a buy in here. And we did not get 11, but we got like 13.5. down in here. And then you guys remember 17.5 cents. I was buying through here. There's all the receipts on Twitter from it. You can go search those dates to see, because I was posting it, like doing it in 4 sets of buys. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you guys all remember the 22.5 cent times, buy. And then there's all the receipts for those on Twitter. And then there's the receipts over here on Twitter buying 17 cents. You go check the dates, go search my tweet history, go check December 29th, 2020. You'll see it in there of buying. So in order for me to like throw like a serious amount of money and increase my bag by 20%, I had to feel like I was going to get a good value, a good deep discount on that heading into a big moment like this. I don't consider this to be like, we'll take this off the chart. I don't consider this to be like ridiculously silly prices compared to prices we've seen. I don't find that to be very cheap. So the amount that I put 10% in here of what I was thinking about putting in here to buy at a discount, because this didn't feel that cheap to me, but I thought there's the chance that we're going to end up holding on top of this, right? So it's what I posted on Twitter, and it's what we talked about during that time frame here on the YouTube channel. If we pull back here, I still don't I don't consider it to be like super massively cheap, just because of all the prices I've paid before and what we've been in for the last year. So I'm not putting the full amount I originally thought that I would if I was able to get these types of prices. If I was able to get these types of prices, I was willing to add quite a bit more. Up here, I'm not going to add as much. But I'm also thinking this might be kind of the last chance to get at that type of discount, barring any type of like C19 sell-off that happens or something like that, where things we have some catalyst event that causes something to happen. And the reason I bring that up, like a catalyst event, like a C19 style event, is the newcomers to 2021. Imagine how deep you are in this moment right now, how long you've been in here. For a lot of these altcoins, right? Most of these altcoins all topped back in April and May of 2021. We're now over 2 years into bearishness and consolidation for a lot of these altcoins. And what if you weren't here in 2018 through 2020 and you came in when Bitcoin broke out into its new all-time high, we had it even worse back in 2018 and 2019. But what's funny though is if you haven't been looking at this on the charts, where we are right now, like from a time perspective, is like right when we went into C19. So imagine what it was like being in 2019, being in 2018, 2019, 2020. You go through this stuff for this long, and then right here, right now, you get a 70% sell off. That happens. That's what 2018, 2019, and 2020 is like. So a lot of people say, how do you remain so calm in this volatile market and this stuff? And, we got all this kind of stuff. We've had way worse than this. We've just had way worse than what we've seen so far. And I've been through, and a lot of viewers who watch this channel have been through it, where you go through it this long and it hits the fan. So, yeah, anyway. Barring anything insane happening like that, I don't anticipate seeing significantly lower prices for XRP. My best guess is we stall out here. If our structure starts building, right? If we start building something like this again, right? Right, so if we start building that whole structure in there, let me just do this. Right, kind of understanding how you have 5 waves downside, then what do? We quickly fire back to retracement levels, right? So you kind of have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you head back to retracement levels, and then you stall out, right? And you're just not able to get up any higher. If we start to build something like this, then my thoughts may change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fires back to retracement levels. And then now watching to see, does it stall out like that? If it stalls out like that, which I think we would know after like June. If we spend all of June in here doing this and then just start waddling down here, we kind of open up the door of structures saying that, well, we have seen structures like this that do move down further. But as of right now, I'm treating it as that is not the case because we are deep into Wyckoff accumulation. And like I mentioned in yesterday's live stream, if anybody can find a structure where you head into spring phase or last point of support phase in a Wyckoff accumulation, where you head back to retraces and don't keep working up. If you can find me an example where you get this and then head to new lows, I'll check it out, but I've never seen it. Not this deep. Not this deep. That would be a first time for me if we ever did that. So I do think the higher probability is, even if we work sideways for our last point of support phase here in the final phase of Wyckoff accumulation, that will go there. Let me pull that up for you guys so you can see it. So it's not me just like talking. I don't like to do that where you have to be like, hey, just trust me what I'm talking about. I want you to see it for yourself. There you go. All right. Wyckoff method. All right. Decomposite man. All right, so Wyckoff, your accumulation events, so you have phase A, B, C, and D, right? So we have our selling climax, our automatic rally, our secondary test in phase B. Then we go on to spring, right? So you hear me talk about that all the time, spring. So we shuffle our way up, come in for our secondary test, shuffle our way back up again, and then spring, that's the aggressive selling. We talk about that a lot, right? In these circumstances, and in this example right here, it shows us spring setting a new low. And we don't see that every time. And we didn't see that for Bitcoin back in 2015. And we didn't see that for Bitcoin in 2019 at both of its lows, right? And it's in Bitcoin's Wyckoff accumulation schematics for 2018 and in, like you can even see me talking about it right there because I was just recording on Wyckoff accumulation for the course. The two different phases in here too, right? So in here you have spring phase, the aggressive spring, and notice we don't set a new low, but sometimes it does. However, this time it did not, and the altcoin market of 2018 did not. Oh, I have way too many tabs open. Where are we? Wyckoff. So spring phase, right? That's the aggressive selling phase. That's kind of what we were watching for here over here on XRP. Are we going to pause out here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the aggressive sell, the aggressive spring, where we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bam, break the trend as we did back in 2016, 2017, and then scare the market, and that's the final phase of spring, right? And then what do you do after that? You work your way up, right? That's just standard Wyckoff accumulation. And that's what happens in these things, right? But the other structure you can get is you can actually get one that doesn't have a spring. So there's a second schematic. And the second schematic is last point of support. So we still have our selling climax. We still have our automatic rally. We still have our secondary test and our secondary test in phase B. But rather than moving into the aggressive spring in schematic 1, we have something called last point of support, and where it just kind of gradually moves sideways until it finally gets going and heads out higher. And for Bitcoin, unlike in 2015, where we do have spring, there in 2018, we have just that. We have the last point of support, right? We don't have the aggressive spring that heads down into new lows way down here, as we did for 2015. We have that more kind of last point of support grind that happens, right? We don't have the aggressive spring phase that ends up happening in here. So, XRP, where are you? I've lost you. There you are. So being in here, I find it very odd to head back up and then say, hey, we're going to head back down. It seems unlikely. I haven't seen in all of the, we'll call it the right thing, phase C's, right? Phase C, where we should be having either last point of support or we should be having a spring phase. I have not seen an example where in there we do ABC, where you retrace to 702, and then we still go on to spring again after that. I haven't seen that. If there's an example of it out there, please show it to me. I've never seen it. The only logical guess I could make it at what we're doing in here is that this move removed a spring phase to say we are doing the last point of support, phase C, rather than a spring phase C. So that's the best guess I can make where we're at currently right now. And we'll have to give it more price action to play out. But I would think what we're seeing happening today and yesterday's last couple of days, pretty optimistic for XRP. I don't know. I went on a long ramble there that then eventually turned into showing Wyckoff accumulation charts. Hopefully you found value in it. All right, we're moving on. Thank you, Pat, for all those grumpy old men. Yeah, that was answering your question. I hope I answered it, bro. Hugh D says, bingo wheel, go burr. Thank you, Hugh D. Grumpy says, bingo dingusmus. You best be right. You better be right, BCB. Thank you very much, grumpy old man. Thank you, Hugh D. Big Shroom says, salute to BC Backer and your rockin' community. Yeah, this has been crazy. This whole markets in the morning has really kind of formulated a community. I mean, you guys have always been there supporting the channel, but this has kind of given us an avenue to kind of like hang out and chat a whole lot. It's been pretty fun. I'm digging it. You digging it? I'm digging it. Robert Barker. Hey, BCB. The last part of the blue fractal before XRP takes off looks very similar, if not identical, to what we've done in the last week. Suggests brief pause and moon. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Of course, I've deleted everything. Let's see what happens if we go like this. Come on, you can do it, buddy. You can do it. Oh, yeah. There we go. Is that like the Kool-Aid guy, right? Oh, yeah. Let's put it on here. I mean, our eyes make us see it, whether it's there or not. I mean, what would you be implying? Maybe that, which would then imply 44 to 46. Hard to guess. So with fractals, for me in particular, I like to use them when they're really, really accurate. Once things start fading, and it's no longer time to use them. So one of the ones we spent a lot of time looking at for Bitcoin was up in here, right? These phases down in here, right? From the top. We anticipated bear market from the very peak. We were showing bear market fractals and how the market was playing out in here. We went equivalent depths. But that's done now. We're not active. I don't know how many months it's been since we've brought those fractals back into play. They played. We don't move on. Once you start seeing just kind of like price deviation, this price behavior is different from this price behavior. And it's also different from this price behavior. So we have new price behavior happening right here that is not equivalent to these two moves happening in here. So we can't kind of like force it because we want to see it. For me, it's got to be like really accurate. And so right here, if we do kind of go with that and be like, well, look, yeah, so what we're it really, like, we know the last 9 months have been silly, right? Just absolutely silly how well they've played out in here. But then we have to start kind of being like, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift this up here and make it like this. And it's like, really? Really? It's not scientific enough for me. I get where you're going with it. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't like sit silly. I sat there privately just kind of being like, yeah, that's it, man. We're almost there, bro. Definitely. But taking it really serious, it's hard because it feels like it's being forced. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the good news is like you would think we are working on something like that at this point. We've seen how much work we've done. What have we done? We've done the whole capitulation, right? Same percentages, right? What did these both come out to be? 85.5%, right? Then a really nice automatic rally here back in 2015 and 16. But otherwise, the same accumulation structure is happening in here right now. Now, here we are at the very end. Slight shift. So for all we know, we're already in it. For all we know. But for me, I can't say that until retraces start getting plowed through. If retraces start, which we're at right now, if retraces start getting plowed through, then I'll start being in that camp. But otherwise, any of those ideas could be valid. It could be, hey, that's just a couple of initial waves off the top. There's still accumulation coming back to 44 to 46, and then we could start working our way up from there. But there's no question that's a deviation, right? Which we acknowledged 2 or 3 days ago. That's a deviation. And then we go back to retraces. Now we wait. Now we just wait. At least I do. All right. Amber, yeah, you said no SMMD cap. Not asking you to say coins, just curious. I don't know what that is. Brianna Marie says, "Hey BCB, thank you for all you do. Would you mind giving RNDR a look? Not a popular token, but has been doing well. So I wanted to know your thoughts. I think we've brought this up quite a few times. People ask about it almost every stream. Yeah, see, we even have drawings on here. That this has been one of the cleanest, right? So if you were here, Brianna, in anywhere from June through January, right? When we're having all the collapsing of all the different Luna, UST, Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, all that good stuff. Then, of course, the argument was we've already exhibited all the price behavior of a bottom already being in. Now, we've talked about that with Bitcoin. We talked about it with the altcoin market. We started getting the 50-week to cross 100-week moving averages. That has historically happened at the 2014 and 15 bottom, historically happened at the 2018, 2019 bottom. All the signals. And then we were talking about Wyckoff accumulation for like 9 months happening in here over on the total altcoin market cap. And sure enough, that I would say one of the absolute cleanest examples of that. And so what we were using is we were spending a lot of time looking at Bitcoin showing this. This was Wyckoff accumulation for Bitcoin, as we were just talking about here on the Wyckoff method, where you have your spring phase, right? You got a very clean spring phase there. Holy cow, where did that chart go? Are you here? Are you here? There you are. Very clean Wyckoff accumulation happens for RNDR in here. And so, you have the breakout. You already have the back test. Now you have just kind of the drifting. So that's like, this was kind of the equivalence of showing, how RNDR is behaving currently right now in relation to that. So, I mean, I think it's been one of the cleanest of all of the Wyckoff accumulations. But of course, when people see this, they say, I have to YOLO into this because it's going to moon now. That's not what this says, right? This says it still just keeps on grinding and grinding and grinding, kind of like how it has been. It's just been grinding and grinding and grinding. I know nothing about this coin. I always catch flack when I don't know about somebody's coin, so I have no clue what it is. But it's in the top 100, and I get asked about it quite frequently. So from price behavior, identical to a bottom, absolutely identical, kind of in just that grinding out phase happening in there for RNDR. I don't own any. So I'm not promoting it or encouraging it. I don't own any. but it looks pretty good. Thank you, Brianna. JR589. Good morning, my guy. Happy Thursday. In the beginning to June. Yeah, so every time I start the markets in the morning, I make the new thumbnail. I update the day of the week that it is, and then I update the date. And so every day, like I changed the name. Yesterday was Wednesday, so I changed it to Thursday today. And then I usually just sit there and just swap that last number out to add one to whatever yesterday was. I was like, oh wait, I have to go change that 5 over there to a 6. It's June. Happy June. Like in the United States, June, that represents it. We are in the hot summer months now. Matter of fact, I'm feeling a little sweaty right now. Good morning, JR. Thank you. Dustin Hill, thoughts on H-bar chart? Yeah, so this is exactly what we talked about for looking for Bitcoin months ago. I've talked about this quite a few times. Trying to think, how can I do it super quickly without pulling out the Bitcoin chart? I'm gonna have to pull up the Bitcoin chart. So if you guys remember back in January and February, a lot of the videos were talking about, hey, here's the resistance, right? What happens after these things? We expected this breakout to happen. We were saying like, hey, within 24, 48 hours, expect some big yellow candle to come out of here, plus $2,000 for Bitcoin. We nailed that one. That was awesome to get that one, to get that breakout. Then spent a couple months saying, hey, look, I'm concerned about the top here. I showed many times in here being like, when we get back into these things, like these are super bullish. Like this is bottom. This is bottom. But what we can do a lot here is we can ABC in here, right? That was the thought process of what was coming for Bitcoin, is that we would have kind of a long and grueling ABC, and that these can last for a long time in here. And then in the target for those to usually pull back is right down into these price levels right in here. We talked about it many, many times back there in January and February. We talked about it a whole lot, saying, hey, like that 18.3 area, that's an area where you could really pull back into in there for Bitcoin. Said Bitcoin fires right back on out of here, right? Jumps its way out of here, which I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. I think we're going higher. But the idea was that we would kind of have a grueling kind of ABC in here, because these are things that we typically do see when we actually have bottoms. Here's an example. Many of you are familiar with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7s, but what you usually will see is you'll see this type of bottom, right? Something more along the lines of this, right? We'll roll back up and then we pull back, right? Pull back, and then the bottom falls out of the market. And the bottom falls out of the market, that's where you find your low. Then you'll consolidate down here at the lows, break back up to near the highs, break back up to near the highs. And typically we go into like somewhat of a grueling ABC that actually happens in here. And they kind of gruel their way out, and they last for some time in here, pulling down before things then eventually turn their way up. This was the thought for Bitcoin right in here. And the dates for this starting really at this time right here, back in February. Looking at H-bar, H-bar gave us just that. So H-bar pulled up, right, off those lows, the fall apart, and then H-bar does top here. H-bar does top here on February 11th, February 12th, February 13th, right? So we get that here at this time frame, and we get the thing we're looking for. We get that ABC, we get that pullback into those price levels, and we've been holding it. And lots of examples, and this all marks bottoms. These are what happens at bottoms. And in lots of examples, what you typically see is it does, just because we're here, it doesn't mean we can't do this for quite some time. It's definitely still possible. Like just looking at the example that we just talked about. You can see how long these things go, right? We can keep going for some time. And then eventually breaking out. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it. I think we're at an accumulation level. That's why I'm buying it. But I don't have the expectation it's going to like, I'm buying it today because tomorrow it's going up. I know dang well that we could sit here for some time and piss a lot of people off. And they get jealous. They go chase things like Pepe. They go chase every meme coin. Typical retail. But I'll be, sitting behind, just kind of waiting in this thing for it to eventually get going. And so my thoughts are it's an accumulation zone. That's why I am taking a stab at it. Gator. All right. There you go. That's my thoughts on H-bar. Who asked that? Dustin. Thank you, Dustin. But we're gonna. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this standard really quick before we go, because now these are turning into all. Hey, take a look at my altcoin charts. Please don't donate asking for altcoins. I can't do this all stream. It's not fair to the whole audience, and it takes a long time. And then I get a lot of garbage ones too that I do not want to show the audience. It becomes a thing where you get all these people who donate $2 to get their altcoin shown on the channel. So I'm probably gonna start going a lot more quicker through altcoin questions. Because I'm just looking at the next ones. They're already just lining up already. Like the next one, George says, hey, may I have your thoughts and price targets on Stellar Lumens? I don't know about Stellar Lumens. I've been kind of critical of Stellar Lumens. It's a coin. George, I'm going to bet that your primary holdings are XRP, and then you've also bought Stellar Lumens. That seems to be the common theme among Stellar Lumens holders. They're actually primary XRP holders, and they've had XRP content creators tell them to buy Stellar Lumens. But there's no real Stellar Lumens community. So I don't know. Stellar Lumens there's a set of several altcoins that did go back to their all-time highs. Those would be Litecoin, Stellar Lumens, Monero, Basic Attention Token, 0x. All these coins that were from 2018, they all went back to their all-time high. They actually touched and barely peaked into a new all-time high, but then fell all the way back down. So it's just whether or not, when the whole market shifts all the way back up, is that going to be the same story again? Is it just going to go back to those high levels and fall back again? Or is it finally going to get a break out of the big range of high price areas that it's touched twice now? It touched in 2018 and it touched in 2021. And can it break out? So we'll see. For one of those types of coins, it's just, for me, it's going to be about monitoring the remainder of the altcoin market and seeing how that coin performs whenever I think the market is peaking. When there's concerns and worries, and typical peakings for the market typically happen, which we witnessed in May of 2021, right? Because we can look back at a lot of these altcoins. This is the time they did peak. We can go back and look at it. Is that what do we have? We usually have euphoria. Euphoria happens, knockback, 702. Everybody is still convinced of absolute insanity coming in the market. The narrative changes for whatever reason that is. But in 2021, the reason was Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live. In this phase, what we will typically see is let me change the color. The altcoin market will be running at this same time, and the altcoin market continues a new high above this high. When that happens, where the altcoin market continues up one leg higher while we're back into retracement after we've already seen euphoria and there's massive bullishness at this retracement level, that marks peak. We'll show this really fast. See if we can get it on this. See if we can capture this in real life. If you're not paying attention right now, you should be. Okay. Total 2. So in here, what do we have? Bitcoin tops in 2017 into the retracement. The altcoin market fires up double. The altcoin market doubles. This is where the majority of altcoins go absolutely ham and absolutely crazy. This is where XRP has its big 20 cent to $3.30 moment. And a lot of altcoins absolutely spike and go nuts into the retracement into the 702 level. So this is the first example here where the altcoin market shifts higher, way above a previous peak, whereas Bitcoin had not. So we were kind of getting a signal here for from the altcoin market, as it has already gone way beyond this past peak over here, whereas Bitcoin is still way down off that peak, but the altcoin market's firing way off beyond that peak. We wouldn't have known that at that time in 2018. It didn't give us that type of information. But when we move over here into 2021, we have a similar thing happen once again. We have the altcoin market rising as Bitcoin's rising, right? Bitcoin kind of leads the way, altcoin market goes, and then the peak right here, right? Here's the peak of Bitcoin. Here's the peak of the altcoin market. Notice we keep moving up higher as Bitcoin's moving up higher. Bitcoin keeps setting these highs and we keep setting these highs. But then suddenly there is this breakaway moment. There's this moment here where the altcoin market does take out that previous peak and Bitcoin is not. And as Bitcoin gets back into the 702 retracement, altcoin market is already well off onto a new high. This has now consistently been the mark of a peak in the market and the sentiment twice. So things like Stellar Lumens, Basic Attention Token, Monero, 0x, all these coins that went and hit their all-time highs but fell back. These are the types of elements I have to watch for the next time the market starts moving up. Is that the altcoin market is moving with Bitcoin, but then there becomes this one phase where there's this real break, a new low gets set for Bitcoin, yet the altcoin market still continues to march on. And as we get back into the retrace, that's it. That's the wipeout moment that happens. That's consistently happened twice now. And that seems to be the structure of how this market does play out. So, for me on a lot of my coins, what I do is I'll pick out their targets and where they're like, no matter what the altcoin market's doing, no matter what Bitcoin's doing, if we get there, that's it. I cut it. I'm out. I'm done. Otherwise, having to pay attention for Bitcoin retraces. And so this is the main thing I'm going to be watching on the altcoin market into a Bitcoin retrace is how does the altcoin market respond once we start getting back into those retracements? Do we see the altcoin market start to really poke up higher and continue higher as we're back in those retracements? And that's the sign. That's one of the signals I will be looking for, regardless of whatever price Stellar Lumens is at, whatever price IOTA is at. There's another question in there about IOTA. There's HBAR, all these things. Doesn't matter what they are. Either they hit Fibonacci extensions for me to profit take at, or I got to pull the plug on everything in the market at the same time. So that's it. But I'm going to lay down the law here real quick, guys. Please don't donate asking for altcoins. I'm gonna make you mad. You're gonna feel like you got robbed by me, that you donated and I didn't answer your question. I can see the chat. I can see everything. It's getting way too much. I try to lay down that law all the time. That people are always doing that. It's to be considerate to everyone else. There's 1,600 people in here. They probably don't care. Not everybody cares about particular altcoins. Big Shroom says, any long-term TA on Monero? Same idea with Monero. It's a privacy coin. You know how I feel about privacy coins. Monero is the gold standard of privacy coins. Whether or not privacy is going to become important, it obviously makes total sense in a financial world. We enjoy privacy with our money right now. There's absolute zero chance Bitcoin will ever be used as money. If we are going to use cryptocurrency as money, there has to be a privacy feature on it. Will that end up happening? That's the question. We'll see. See, bingo. So we'll see. Boy, I'm very far behind. Frank LeCursey, thank you very much. First timer, no message, but thank you, Frank. Oh, then he comes up following it. Says, hey, I have one question. I know you covered a lot, but do you have a target price for HBAR? For me, the first thing for HBAR is retracements based on the market cap. HBAR is another one of those ones that did a lot of printing. I believe the inflationary rate on HBAR is like 30 to 40%. It's pretty bad, not good. But my thoughts are it's kind of primed for a move to happen. If HBAR takes off, gets that big pop, I will take some profits at fib retracement levels. And if XRP is still low, I'll rotate it into XRP. Otherwise, I'll just pull it from the market. But first, we got to remember, like, if things don't take off and go absolutely insane right away, and it's not quick, we have to remember this is the scenario going on in the stock market. You know what I mean? Like, there becomes this, I think way too much of the messaging of that Bitcoin's going into this brand new big bull run is completely ignoring reality. This is a bubble. This is a parabolic bubble in the stock market. It is a parabolic, euphoric bubble in the stock market. It is not a parabolic, euphoric bubble any longer. It is now in a retracement, and this is a very real threat. And this, I think, has to be kept in mind, that all of Bitcoin's bull runs Bitcoin started right here. Bitcoin was created in 2009. There is the creation of Bitcoin. It wasn't created here. It wasn't created before a dip. It was created at the literal bottom of the great financial crisis and has been in an up-only stock market. And the question is, are we in an up-only stock market anymore? Has the bubble popped? We are at retracements. To believe that Bitcoin has to do these magic 4-year cycles when this has been the underlying behavior of the market underneath all of it, the liquidity flow of all markets. I have to keep reiterating that's a real thing, right? There's something different here this time in broader markets. So we'll just kind of wait and see. Hedera, it's going to be the same thing as I just saw. Okay, we got to move on from altcoins, guys. All right. Wheezy XRP, would you mind retweeting my William Duvall tweet? I'm trying to impress my wife and get her to meet Duvall and Guns and Some Roses in San Antonio, Texas. Dingus. No. If I do that, then I'm gonna be. I'm just gonna start people paying me to retweet them. So, retweets are not for sale, my friends. But if you didn't catch that really high alpha tweet that I posted the other day, this one, when I captured XRP getting back to the fib levels. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. I hope that made your day, because you're welcome. Okay. And you know what else I know? Half of you guys couldn't like that tweet. I know it. You wanted to, but you couldn't. Didn't want to get yourself into any trouble. That's okay. I know underneath it all, you wanted to like it. Okay. Sydney, thank you very much, says, when is your course coming? Appreciate your alpha. I am praying to dear God in June. Praying. So every day I've been getting off here. I've been a workhorse, man. Workhorse. So praying in June. And I think we're on track to do it. Thank you, Sydney. Terrence Rafferty, what is your opinion on the Dow Jones new all-time high based on inflation with the real metrics based on Dow Jones priced on silver or gold instead of dollars? Thank you for all the best, dude. I don't know. When we start getting into all those other things, we adjust things because we want them to fit kind of our narrative. This is the reality of life. the cold, hard reality of life. You have a 5-wave structure up on the Dow. You sit at retracement levels. Get through the retracement levels, we can start talking about it. Right now, it's the ultimate danger of that. You are at the earliest phase of the Great Depression on the Dow Jones. That's just the reality of it. I would say the only thing going for the Dow, which this feels like it overrides it, is that the Dow is one of the few that has come up short of a 4.236 extension. And oftentimes we do see these types of things happen where there's an initial fall in distribution, right? So distribution is usually going to have that. It's usually going to have this. This is called your, come on, BCB, you can think of it. I'm gonna think because I know the answer. We're not gonna look at the cheat sheet. We know the answer. Right, so you call it an automatic rally when you're popping back up, but we call it a, what do we call it? We're cheating. We're gonna cheat. What do we call it? It's 2 letters. Yeah, it's called automatic reaction. Yeah, automatic reaction. So the thing that it has going for it is, one, it hasn't hit the 4.236. And in distribution events, you're typically going to have, right, your buying climax, your automatic reaction, secondary test, your sign of weakness. Then we're going to have an up thrust that will actually set a new all-time high. And then we'll pull back to the automatic reaction level. And then this is where things can vary, just like we showed with Wyckoff distribution or Wyckoff accumulation, right? You can have a spring, or you can have a last point of supply for Wyckoff accumulation. But we have last point of demand here in Wyckoff distribution, in which we can see pulling back up to retracement levels. Or, as we saw for Bitcoin just recently, we don't. We stay low, and then we break down lower. That's a typical distribution pattern happening in here, and it gives like a little bit of a chance because we haven't reached out to the full Fibonacci extension levels here for the Dow Jones. Now, the thing is that we have actually hit it already when it comes to the S&P. So the S&P has hit it. And when we did hit it, that's also when the Federal Reserve banned themselves from owning any stocks. So all Fed officials sold the stock market literally the day it hit the 4.236 extension. Total scam, total corruption, absolute total corruption. But the NASDAQ, based on an even bigger bubble that dates back to 2000, it also has not hit the 4.236 extension as well. So is this our initial phase of distribution, right? Where we have our automatic reaction, secondary test, sign of weakness. Now we're going on for our final up thrust, as we saw for Bitcoin and as we saw for Ethereum. Then we head back down, back to our automatic reaction, and then finally it breaks down and goes, right? Otherwise, if not, all heck is about to break loose. I don't know which one will happen, but I definitely have to point to it and say that's scary as can possibly be that we're back there. So, to each their own. All right, moving on. Thank you, Terrence. I hope that answered. I don't know if I answered the question exactly the way you wanted it, but I gave some thoughts. Thank you so much. Robert Parsons, Mr. BCB, great content as always. I've missed a few days, so I've been busy with work, but I did peek at your barbecue show. So you are super TA and super barbecue chef. Confidence on XRP, like you. That's my main bag. Good luck and thank you. Thank you, Robert. That's very kind of you. And you tune in and you watch, man. Thank you. George Alexanderopoulos says, good morning. And do you think Ethereum is following the second Wyckoff schematic you just showed? Thanks for all you do. Hard to know, man. Doing this long enough, your guess is as good as mine as we're in it, as we're in the thick of it. It's one of those things usually when we get out of it, when we get back to the range height, then you say, oh, okay, that's what it was. Kind of like when you're studying a crashing structure, you're not really going to identify a crashing structure early. You're going to identify it late. For those who are not familiar with crashing structure, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today. But right, that's as sloppy as you can be. Let's have respect here. There are people who can already recognize exactly what I've done in here. Usually you're not going to identify the crashing structure until down in here, until you get to this moment right in here. And for a lot of people would be like, well, why would I care about recognizing after it's already happened? I'm clearly can tell this asset has crashed. Congratulations on understanding a crashing structure. But the benefit of it is knowing, first of all, sentiment's already going to be really in the gutter. Sentiment is already going to scream that an asset is dead. So retail investors are all going to sell the bottom, or there's going to be a group of people who will sell the bottom here. Price will bounce, and then this is where sentiment actually returns back, because suddenly this bounce is stronger than really all the bounces that you've seen on the way down. There's been aggressive, and then suddenly there's like a real bounce, and it's like, wait a minute, we're V-bottoming, but having to be patient and say, no, it's not time to V-bottom. Then we go set one more low. This is the capitulation. This is where everybody sells. This is game over, lights out, retail, absolutely horrid. But that's the moment that I buy at. But this is not going to be identifiable early. This is going to be identifiable late. So it's not going to help you like sell. It's just going to help buy. It's going to help be on the buy side. So looking at determining which one are you going to be getting, right? Are you going to be getting spring, or are you going to be getting last point of support? I haven't figured out how to be able to identify which one will occur in that particular moment, and there's a reason why. Because do any of you guys remember creak? Right? Let me pull up Jim Forte. Jim Forte, anatomy of a trading range. So in the anatomy of a trading range, we could have a creek, right? So a creek will look awfully a lot like a last point of support. But then suddenly, where'd you go? Jim Forte. Here we go. Suddenly, S hits the fan really quick, right? So you could have a last point of support that just keeps on holding and holding and holding and holding until finally it goes back to the top of the range. Or you can have a last point of support that's creaking and creaking and creaking, and then S hits the fan, and it goes and really tests the supply. So, no. I hope that answered your question. I have not identified a strategy to recognize being able to pinpoint that, but definitely being able to recognize Wyckoff accumulation and just understanding. Either one could happen, but where are we on the bigger time frame? Where are we? We're in accumulation, right? And recognizing that rather than gloom and doom into the world. Okay. Litecoin's up a little bit today. All right. Thank you, George. Gator says, BCB, sell your XRP bags and let's get this show on the road to 30 cents already. Just kidding. Thank you for the love and dedication to your craft. Honored to be a part of this family. Also, BCB Substack is a diamond. LFG. Thank you. Thank you, Gator. I appreciate the support of the Substack. I put a lot of work into that. Sell your XRP bag and let's get the show on the road to 30 cents already. Yeah, well, you know how it works, man. You sell your bag and then it goes the opposite direction. That's the thing about XRP too. I just keep holding. Maybe it's me. I'm the one who's holding. Just kidding. It's you guys. If you guys would just hurry up and sell it, we could go. All right. I'm just kidding. All right. Tanner A. Another super clean chart is INJ. Injective. Perfect Spring, ANJ, and RDR. Certainly the cleanest and strongest coins I've seen so far. Okay, cool. I haven't looked at it, so I don't know. I'm so far behind. Where am I at? I'm still over 20 minutes behind, so I'm going to have to move on. Thoughts and price targets on Zcash. I'm going to have to move on, buddy. XRP 923. Just going to be watching the rest of the market on that one. And that one's been a headache too. Sam Hallett. Hi, BCB. Thank you for your thoughts on BCH. We're curious to know if you have any exit plans for HBARs. There's not much data. How would you calculate this? Yeah, there's more data if you go to CoinTrader Pro and you check the HBAR market cap. There's plenty of data in there. You're just not going to find it on TradingView. Using CoinTrader Pro, you will. Pat, you came out swinging today. A noob. And then just gifted memberships all over the place. Thank you, Pat. Gifted 5 memberships. Mr. Nobody says, hey, BCB, I get that XRP probably won't spring to a new Wyckoff low, but would it still revisit the lows of the trading range set during PH A and B? We're in a trading range, my man. You can, right? This is the most difficult. What we're literally guessing here, and if you've ever heard me describe it before, ranges are chaotic by design. We're guessing how a range is going to play. You can go Google, you can go research, you can go check everything you want. This isn't a trend, right? We're guessing ranging behavior. The hardest, literally hardest. Go ask any professional trader. Go ask your best trader you've ever heard of in your life to guess range behavior. It's the literal hardest. So, sure. Anything is possible as we're below here. You know, that's always my rule. We're not through here. So it's not like being like, we just crack through everything. So everything's super bullish. If you asked me that question, if we were like above 56 cents, I would say, I don't think so. But you're asking me under the 702 retracement, I'm going to say, yeah, for sure it's possible. Get through here, I'll probably start changing my thoughts on that pretty quick. Thank you, Mr. Nobody. Frankie Spanky says, how is XRP holding up against the 702 retracement? Sorry if you went over this already. I just got off work and I need to quit. Moon soon. It's still just fighting. Frankie, it hasn't gotten through, so we're just waiting. Faline says, is your silence on newer, smaller cap non-meme coins driven with less than $100 million driven by an ethical desire to protect others from high-risk assets? Do you hold any yourself? I do not believe I hold any myself. I do not believe. I couldn't name them off the top of my head if I do. And yes, it is a prolific problem throughout the cryptocurrency market of crypto influencers pumping low cap coins onto audiences. They get in early, they pump it on the audience, they dump it, and then the asset crashes and crumbles on the audience. I have no interest on doing that to my audience. Simple as that. George Rodriguez, thank you, BC Backer. I appreciate your thoughts. I've been subscribed to you since February 2020. You've kept me level-headed throughout the years. Thank you so much, George. XRP Venture from all of us. Thank you. XRP Venture, my man, what's up? Glad to see you doing well, man. I saw you mentioned me over there on Twitter too. And XRPP, luring the name calling stuff out there. You said call him a friend. Thank you, my dude. Thank you for the support, man. My brother with the scar. So I hope you are doing fantastic, sir. Pat, again with 5 more. Thank you, Pat. Crushing it. Tay Brown, did you nibble at XRP this morning or a different asset? I nibbled at a different asset. I'll tell you which one I nibbled at because it's new, fancy. It's that SUI coin, right? So small amount. If it goes to zero, it goes to zero. It's fine. But I bought a little bit of it. So we'll see. Problem with that coin, right? What's the major problem with it? Non-measurable. There's no way to measure how high it could go. It literally has to be treated, in my mind, of what we just talked about recently with Bitcoin versus the altcoin market cap. And if there becomes that phase of the altcoin market extending beyond Bitcoin, that has to be the goodbye moment. All right. BCB, when bingo? I need to know. I'm actually okay with this whole bingo thing now. It's growing on me. You know that we're making a coffee cup with bingo on it, right? I mean, it's got to happen now. All right. If DJI hits a new 4.236 extension, does that also mean new high on Bitcoin or still only a retracement? Need bigger breakout for new Bitcoin rally? I don't know the answer to that, but if the Dow Jones touches a new all-time high, I will, of course, absolutely say it is possible for Bitcoin to then hit an all-time high. Whether or not that means Bitcoin does an all-time high that looks like this, it is physically possible for it to do so because the Dow will have done it. So it's just an if-then statement, really, right? If Dow Jones goes to a new all-time high, then so does Bitcoin throughout history. There are no circumstances in which the circumstances are different. So if Dow Jones sets new all-time high, then Bitcoin can, right? Does not mean new cycle, 4.236 extension, new super cycle, here we go, Bitcoin. Unlikely. But could it poke because the Dow did? My thoughts would become yes, it could. Okay. Thoughts on Bitcoin 12345 ABC into 12345 from all-time high. You gotta be more clear than that, man, because I don't know which 12345 you're talking about. Right. So here's the biggest challenge for most Elliott waivers, and I can get it. On how they can be biased, but I know it keeps them up at night. I know it does. This is one of the hardest counts on Bitcoin right in here, right? And especially this. 1, 2, 3, then what? 4, 5? Or 4, 5? Because if it was 4, 5, why would you have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and then RSI, every element completely die? Right? Every element would completely die unless if that was your count. So this is a hard count on a lot of Elliott waivers right now. And Elliott wave theory is subjective. Don't let anybody on there give you crap and say that your count is wrong and their count is right. It is subjective. And every time that happens to me, I prove 90% of their counts wrong. So don't listen to the Elliott wave keyboard warriors. 90% of them are really bad at it. But this is the challenge, that the big argument that is out there right now. Which one is happening in here? And I definitely, my thoughts are more it's this. My thoughts were that was the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But a lot of hope out there that this is the actual real count. So why could this still be the count, right? It actually leads back to other things we've talked about. So it's possible. I'm not putting it as probable, but right. I showed this yesterday too. Like for all the Elliott Wave internet keyboard warriors, this is obviously an ABC. It's very obvious that it is. This is very obvious in ABC. But you're going to have Elliott Wave rules violated in here, right? You're going to have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every Elliott Wave keyboard warrior will tell you wave 4 cannot cross above wave 1 because they read on Wikipedia. That's what it tells them. But in real life, it happens. It does happen. So it becomes subjective. And so then, the argument becomes more of a running flat style ABC correction that does get a new high, right? So it actually become ABC, right? Can we kind of conclude that that's possible just by referencing that, hey, there can be some kind of wonky stuff that happens in the Elliott Wave counts over here in Bitcoin, and it can, because we know this, because we called the bottom. Everybody always, when I meet people in real life, like, yeah, you called the top. I'm like, yeah, but I called the bottom too. That this is what the bottom is, right? So it's just a wonkier running flat ABC correction, right? And if that's true, if that's an ABC correction, well, this was also an ABC correction, ABC. Leaving the door open for one more final wave 5, right? So that's kind of the lean that this idea has to kind of go with for those who believe that this was Elliott Wave 4, that we kind of are finishing right now and getting ready to start Elliott Wave 5. But I know it would have to keep most people in that count, keep them up at night, wondering, was that the count? Was that the count? We'll see. We'll all find out. So I'm not sure if that's what your question was. I think it was. Hopefully. We'll see. But thank you, Sten Mestiner. That was your first time. Appreciate it. And then JJ Melch, welcome back. For your first time here yesterday, you were wild like Pat Kai has been today. Thank you, JJ, for the super chat. All right. You guys in the chat are wild. We still have 1,400 people in here. It's amazing. All right. I think, how long have I been going here? An hour and 42 minutes. I got to wrap this thing up. I got a lot of other work I got to do. I got more bcbacker.com videos to record today. I was hoping to put out a YouTube video today. It doesn't look like it's going to be the thing that happens. We'll get one out definitely tomorrow for Friday. I've been spending some time on some stuff that we'll talk about. I get asked quite often about the XRP BTC chart, measuring XRP in Bitcoin. I've spent a lot of time playing around with measuring different assets in XRP over here in the crypto market. And I'm going to show you some interesting findings I have to say, I definitely believe XRP's moment is coming. I definitely believe it's going to outperform most of the market. And that's the video I'm intending to put together. I'll work on that tomorrow morning, and I'll get that out. So otherwise, I've got other work I've got to do. Yesterday, I did spend all day working on this thing. Money Printer Go Burr is my Substack. It's my newsletter. It's released. There's a link in the description of this video to my premium newsletter in there. It's a great way to support the channel and try to provide you guys extra content. And I put a lot of work into this. So check it out. If your mindset has been debt ceiling gets raised, automatically means Jerome Powell turns on a money printer. I want to think again. But that's what the whole write-up was about that. Today it did get approved in the House, and today it will be voted on over there in the Senate, and we'll see how that ends up going over there in the Senate. It should go fine. according to analysts. Good old-fashioned analysts. But all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Check out the newsletter if you're looking for something to do today. Otherwise, I've got other videos to record today to try to meet my June deadline. But that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.